Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you for joining us. And remember to like, share, and post elsewhere because someone is definitely going to benefit from this very special topic that we have today. Welcome to Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace. And have I got a special guest who definitely has guts and does it with grace? High-powered women looking for love. That is the topic for today. Now, my special guest, I want to share with you a little bit about her. Her name is Junie Moon, and she's a love coach, and she teaches women in midlife how to magnetize their ideal partner and experience next level love. Using her unique heart-centered dating strategies, coupled with some powerful mindset tools that helped her magnetize the love of her own life, women learn to embrace this precious stage of life with confidence, playfulness, which is so important, and ease. Junie doesn't stop there, though. Junie's an award-winning international speaker, a #1 Amazon best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package, Shed the Shame and Live Life Out Loud. Director, producer of the film Shed the Shame, and you've got to see that, host of the podcast Midlife Love Out Loud, and a certified shadow work facilitator. Thank you, Miss Junie Moon, for being here. I'm so happy and excited because I think we're going to have a fun, engaging conversation about love for very high-powered women.
Yes, we are. I know we are. And thank you so much for having me. This is a juicy topic, and what an amazing focus on women that are really doing big things that might also be wanting love too. So thank you for having me.
And who doesn't want love? We all want love. It's just that sometimes we're so busy, we put it away in luggage and store it in a closet,
Yeah,
and
we
we
do.
really don't want to have to deal with that sometimes, especially after going through maybe disillusionment, betrayal, and all sorts of things that can happen in relationships. Now, what I want to do is, and I'm going to ask you this question, and I always ask everyone, because to me, it's so exciting and interesting to find out who you were as you were growing up and how you became that amazing, extraordinary woman of guts and grace that you are today. What did you want to be when you grew up, Junie?
I wanted to be a lot of things.
And you are.
And I am, and you're absolutely right. I wear a lot of hats. I have tried on a lot of hats, and now all my wardrobe of life has kind of culminated into what I do now. I think what I'm going to say about when I was growing up is I wanted to have an extraordinary life. I've always had a smile on my face and wanted to live out loud, which is kind of my motto: live out loud, love out loud. And yeah, I embraced life fully. And when I was very young, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but I realized I was afraid of the water, so that didn't really work out well. Yeah,
Not at
that was
all.
crushing. That was crushing. And at a young age, I also loved acting. My mom put me in acting school, and I did become a professional actress. I was a professional actress until I was 26, and then things started to shift. And bottom line is that I have loved life from the very beginning, and then life happens. I picked up messages along the way that had me feeling like I really couldn't live out loud. I couldn't really be myself, which led me to the work that I do now. And we can go more deeply into that. Bottom line is life is meant to be lived out loud. And that is how I've been from the very beginning.
One of the things I love about your work is the playfulness. And I think that women who are in high powered positions and leadership, sometimes we forget to be playful. We have to compete with our male counterparts so much
Yeah.
and you know, to make our mark and to get to where we want to, that sometimes we forget that playfulness is something so essential in life, especially when it comes to love. Now, uh, why do people struggle in relationships? So many women, you know, are they can be their own worst enemy, you know, when it comes to love.
Yeah, and I'm even going to tie it to what you just said about women trying to fit into a quote man's world and losing their playfulness. It's kind of the same thing. I alluded to it just a moment ago. I didn't censor myself when I was a kid. I really did have that playfulness and all of my dreaming and fun. And then well-meaning parents that wanted to make sure I wasn't going to get hurt, or the
Right.
societal messages that say, you know, be like this, do this, and then you're going to fit in. We get all these messages about what's acceptable behavior and what's not. So whether you're in business or whether you're looking for love, we get all these messages that have us cutting off aspects of who we are. And then we're not really relaxed and being all of who we are. We're not being able to be playful because we've been told on some level, well, if you're too playful in the business world, or if you're too playful with love, people aren't going to take you seriously. You may not be able to keep your job. And so we have a lot of conditioning,
Mhm.
and that conditioning has us living from a place of fear that we're not going to be successful. We're not going to be loved for who we are. And that affects all of our relationships. So if we're wanting to open up our heart, if we're wanting to embrace a new chapter with a new partner, and we have all this baggage that we've picked up along the way from our past relationships, we are running some old tapes, and that keeps us from really relaxing and opening up to a very new, juicy experience. So, why do we struggle in relationships? Bottom line, it's fear of being left, betrayed, hurt in some way. And we just have picked up some strategies to keep us as safe as we can be. And of course, the more safe we try to be, the less playful and fun and open we're going to be.
Of course. And one thing that comes into play in relationships is the topic of power. And is it necessary in a relationship for one person to be more in control than another? And I think with women who are in high power positions, leaders, managers, CEOs, they might transfer that attitude of power into their romantic relationships. Have you noticed this with your own clients and the people that you work with?
Absolutely. It's actually something I work with a lot, with women that are used to being in control, in the driver's seat, maybe have learned that they have to do everything because no one's going to be there for them. And so suddenly they're in a relationship and there's no room for their partner. They don't know how to receive support. And so they've gotten way more into their masculine and handling things. And then I tend to work mostly with cisgender women. And so men come in and they're like, wow, I want to support, love, and be of service and give to my woman. And there's no space. Oh, I've got it. Don't worry about it. And
Yes.
and so that's one of the biggest challenges. And so, you know, we all want to feel significant. We want to have our own sense of power and agency. And when we partner with somebody, we need to find a way to dance with our energies so that there is that give and receive. If somebody is overpowering somebody or overly controlling, we know that doesn't work. We know that sucks. You know, the over controller is going to feel so tight and rigid and feeling like they have to do everything. And the other person's going to feel over controlled, or that they're not going to feel like they matter. So we need to dial that back, and we need to have, specifically the women that I work with, know that it's safe enough to be vulnerable. And I call it strategic vulnerability, the ability to
I like
open
that.
up and relax and be safe in a way that isn't so scary, that does invite in intimacy and partnership. And it does take some undoing, because women that have been working, and being in that powerful energy might have a hard time turning that off. And we need to learn how to work that switch of, I'm in power, I'm in control, and I can now relax and be in my feminine, and have my man have my back and take care of me in a beautiful, empowered way. Let us be the queens, still in our power, and have our kings reach out and support us in ways that we want.
And you said something really important there about the masculine energy. And I think a lot more people are learning more about energetics and how that shows up in our lives and how we express the energies that we can, whether it's the feminine or the masculine. And I can think back myself and remember how being at the corporate level and then walking home into the home and having to deal with my partner, and how he and I had to switch gears. And I can think back and remember I'd be more feminine, more gentle. My tone of voice would change, you know.
Mhm.
And because I try to match that energy, because if we were both at that level, we were butting heads,
Yeah.
and it does take practice. It does definitely matter to have some strategies to be vulnerable and to ease up on that and that control level of control. Now,
Yeah.
why is it that people who want love, and this is a juicy one, sabotage themselves? What are these little gremlins and why do we have them?
Yeah. It comes back to, again, the programming and the fear that something bad might happen. So we've all had heartbreak in some way, whether we were told that, sorry, I don't think we're a match. Meanwhile, ouch, I thought you were into me. Societal messages, again, telling us if we don't look a certain way that we're not going to be loved, or people breaking up with us. We know the list of things that can hurt us. And so in the work that I do, I'm a certified shadow work facilitator and coach. And in shadow work, shadow being the part of us that we've disowned, the part of us that we go, oh, that's a bad quality, I better not be like that, so let me hide that part. So in this body of work, we have these parts, and we know we talk like this. It's like, oh, I have a part of me that really wants love, but I have a part of me that really is done with men, and I have a part of me that really wants to live with someone, but there's a part of me that really likes to live alone. So anyway, we have these parts. And in shadow work, this body of work that I teach and support my women with, there is this part we call the risk manager. This part that is assessing risks all the time. And
Mhm.
this part was birthed at a very young age because, ouch, we got hurt. We're wired for survival. That's our human journey. We're wired for survival. We don't want to be kicked out of the tribe, and we don't want to have pain. And so this part, this risk manager, is going, the last time she spoke up, she was shamed. So I'm going to keep her voice down. The last time she opened up her heart and really shared her feelings, her partner shut down, and she felt pain. And so this risk manager is whipping up strategies to keep you safe, to keep us safe. And so on the one hand, that's great. We need this part that's kind of going, okay, this is a little uncomfortable here. I'm not so sure this is a good idea. And that's a wonderful thing to have that fear, healthy fear, let us go, let me take a step back and make sure this is a good idea. The thing is that the risk manager was birthed at a very young age and now is on high alert. And so it creates strategies to make sure that you don't take chances. And one of the greatest strategies is the inner critic, the
Mhm.
inner gremlins. Because if you have a message between your ears that's saying, you know what? You're 50 years old, you're 60 years old, your boobs don't look the way they used to look. Men want younger women. Who's going to want you now? What a great strategy. What a great strategy to keep you from going online and putting yourself out there. Or maybe the risk manager, for the same reason, is going, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. So then the risk manager might say, hey, keep working hard, put all your energy into your career. Let me make you so busy that you don't think you have any time to date.
Mhm.
So we have these strategies to keep us safe. The thing is, it's not working if you want love. And that's where we battle. And that's where I come in.
Yay, thankfully. I know a lot of women are going to appreciate this, and even men, because men can also fall into this trap,
Absolutely.
and always wanting to be in charge and not knowing when to be vulnerable, when to take care of something, when to show that they care, and how to show a woman who is empowered that they care, But then again, communication's key, isn't it?
Hugely. That's one of the
Yeah.
things I spend a lot of time teaching, is how to actually speak what your truth is and not be scared about what's going to happen when you share it. How to speak it in a way that can be heard and not get this huge reaction. Because we have not been taught. We haven't been taught how to do relationships well. We haven't been taught to kind of go inside and go, well, what's most important to me? And how do I convey my needs to a partner without making them feel like they're falling short? And in a way that's letting them into us, intimacy, into me see. We need to know who we are to let somebody in. So for someone to be in to me, they need to see who I am. And I then need to know who I am to be able to share it. And just to also piggyback on what you said about men, the women are doing a lot of this work and men are really struggling. I typically work with women, but I've worked with some really amazing men that are really stuck with this very thing. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't want to come on too strongly, but I don't want to look like a weak man. And how do I meet her needs? And I don't want, they're going through their own challenge and redesigning what a man is like in partnership now in 2021. So it's an interesting playing field right now.
And there's one thing also, that some women think a man is going to come in to save them. And that's the other thing. They're going to know what to say, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And that's not really the case. And we were just talking about communication and how does a man know what to do, when, and how, without infringing on a woman's sense of value and worthiness, and that her power's intact to a certain extent. It's a very scary world, Julie.
It is and it isn't. It is because there's so many moving parts, and it is because we've been hurt and we don't want to be hurt again. And it isn't when we can really have these inner tools to know that we can trust ourselves, that we are in choice, that when we know how to express ourselves in an authentic way and feel strong and empowered and grounded when we do, it isn't so scary. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. It's uncomfortable. And so we could just keep doing what we're doing and stay safe in our little bubble that we have. Or we can say, well, let me get some inner tools so that it isn't so scary, that I can feel more empowered, because we can have that fear. I think the definition of courage is acting in spite of the fear. And so the fear is going to be there. It's uncomfortable stepping into the unknown, but the other choice is to not and miss out on life. And so the courage to say, yes, I really, really want partnership. I really want to have a man by my side to lean into, to have that support, to have that love in a way that is supportive to my life. And, one of the things you shared about wanting a man to rescue, to make the decisions, welcome to the world of Disney, like where is my Prince Charming? And where's that man that can, come on his horse and take good care of me? And it's a yes and. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind my man making decisions and riding up on his horse. Well, I have a great guy, but he could have a horse and help me make some decisions, but be in it with me, not overpowering. And that's the thing. We want to come to a relationship as full as we can be, and may they be as full as they could be. So it is that union of it's that perfect union where we're what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the cherry on the cake, where we're adding to, I'm not getting the word, but we're adding to each other's life. And that's an old story. That's old wiring. Let me have somebody save me. And that's why most of my work is, let's get you clear. Let's get you solid with who you are now, because you're not 20 or 30. You're wiser, you're older. You know more about what you want, what you don't want. And some of the old programs that are running in the background are sabotaging the very thing you want. So do we want somebody to come in and save us? Well, sometimes I wouldn't mind. Like last night, I had a full day and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to cook. And I really want food to just appear. And I could have made food appear, but what I did was I said to my honey, I'm kind of in the mood for pizza tonight, which I typically don't eat. But I'm like, I kind of am in the mood for pizza. Can you make that happen? And of course he did. And so would I have loved if he had thought of it? Of course. Would I have loved that, he might have noticed I had a really full day and I was like pulling a lot of energy. I have this big event coming up next week. And I would have loved if he rode in on his horse and said, hey, here's some pizza. But he didn't. And that's okay. And I'm able to voice it, not from oh God, I'm not feeling taken care of, but you know what? I really would like to be taken care of. Hey, honey, can you make this happen? And in a way that's not like, didn't you think about my day? Didn't you see me working so hard? Why didn't you take this step? This is also where we train sometimes our partners to go, yeah, she's had a really hard day. Next time, note to self, let me have that pizza ready for her when she's finished,
Hopefully they take that and run with it. Now,
yeah.
Junie, how can we break these painful patterns? I mean, it seems like the mountaintop, to even get there, to start that trek, to get up and come down again and get up again. It's painful, to say the least, even the process of healing and working through these patterns.
It can be. Yeah, it can be. First of all, let me say that we can break these painful patterns. There was a time in my life when I was 200 pounds. It was about 18, 19 years ago. I was in a marriage of 20 years. And, there were some really lovely things about the marriage, but the stuff that was dysfunctional was I didn't have my voice. I walked on eggshells. I was afraid to speak up and get my needs met. And he was a spicy dude. So I never wanted to poke the bear or rock the boat. And so I had some really painful patterns of keeping my energy down, my voice down. I micromanaged everything. It was exhausting. And I ate a lot of food to get through. It was very painful. My self-esteem was so low. And so one could say back then, I didn't think I would ever get to where I am today, because it's true. I never thought I could break those patterns with my relationship to food and my ability to actually speak up in a way that I can be heard and to feel strong and grounded within myself. I didn't know I could do that. And that is also why I created that film, the Shed the Shame film, where I literally got naked and body painted for the world to see that transformation can happen. Because I did that short documentary because I couldn't leave the house sometimes in my life. I was so terrified of being seen. I never had anything to wear. I felt so fat. I felt so ugly. All the messages we get from our culture about what beauty is and isn't, all of that was inside of me. And so I made this film because it's a perfect metaphor that messages we get and the wiring we have, the conditioning, we can change that. And you can be yourself and love it, whether it's your body or in relationship with other people. So I just want to say, you can break your patterns. And what I also want to say, that the pain I had in not breaking my patterns, the pain that I endured for all those years of my inner critic, of feeling ugly and not worthy, that is way more painful than doing the work. And what I see with my clients pretty soon out the gate is more confidence and ease, and they're able to dream and be enthusiastic. And we're not talking about years and years of pain and struggling. We're talking about months. And so there is something to be said about stepping into the fire. It can be a little uncomfortable. We look at some things that have hurt us, that have cost us, and we then choose differently in how we want to have our life. So the first step really is awareness. The first step is being aware that this is not what I want.
Mhm.
This is not comfortable. I'm not happy. I'm working too hard. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I don't have someone to share my weekends with. I don't have someone to download my day with at the end of the day and have him rub my feet, whatever it is. Like,
Mhm.
ouch. How did I get here? Why am I alone? Why? And I'm not, and I don't even push at, well, I don't push at all to have partnership. What I do push women to step into is owning who they are and loving themselves, because when they can feel full around, within themselves, that's when relationships show up and they have a better relationship. So step one to change these patterns is to just like say, wait a second, I've got a pattern. Notice what's not working. And that awareness goes far. And that is the first step to transformation. Did I answer your question? I kind of felt like I went around a little here and there.
It was about the breaking the patterns, but yeah, and I understand it's a process, and it does start with awareness, like any healing process, and,
Right.
and becoming aware, and then learning strategies, which apparently you do teach really well. And it would be really interesting to speak to one of your clients, or that you share some of the things that some of your clients have achieved through time. But I just want to interject really quickly. We go back to energetics and magnetizing. If you're not feeling good about yourself, if you're not aware who you are, if you don't know who you are, and what you're here for, and who you serve, or how you show up with clarity, your energy is very different from the energy of a woman who knows who she is, that she understands that she's worthy of love to begin with, and self-love, to begin with self-love, and to nurture herself and to be comfortable with herself, and then share all that juiciness and all that wonderful stuff with someone else that will appreciate it, and that will help develop it even further and nurture it.
Oh yeah, you're spot on. And I use the word magnetize all the time. In fact, the event that I'm doing next week is called Magnetize Midlife Love, because at the end of the day, it really is about shining your light, being yourself, being your radiant, beautiful queen, where you're going to have somebody notice you. You're going to be sending out the radar of who you are and what you're wanting. And someone's going to go, there's somebody that I see that I can resonate with, that I'm drawn to. And then when we really can value ourselves and know our worthiness, then we will call in somebody that's going to value us. And we will not accept somebody that doesn't. So it really does start with what's going on inside of us and the energetics. Absolutely. Because if we're feeling like crap, guess what? We're going to attract somebody else with energetics similar to that, because there's healing to be had around that. And that's when relationships, that's where we repeat patterns over and over, because that's another thing I see all the time. Clients coming to me saying, I just keep having the same relationship. They look different. They have a different name. And suddenly, oh my God, here I am again. So we need to update the risk manager. We need to get new strategies, but overall, we really need to know what's going on inside of us. I really would love to go back to your question about how do we break the patterns. And I want to share a quick story, because I think this is a great story for inspiration.
Good.
there was a woman that came to me in her early 50s, very successful businesswoman. From the outside, it looked like she had it all, great personality, but she kept repeating the pattern throughout her life, didn't have any long-term significant relationship because she kept sabotaging it. She kept calling in men that were emotionally immature, and she found herself rescuing and putting all this energy into the relationship. Long story short, she kept sabotaging the relationship, and she was like, I really want a partner and I really want to break this pattern, but I don't know how. And so by doing the shadow work, special processes for us to be able to get beyond the conscious mind, the mind that, the part that goes, I want a relationship, but the unconscious is the part that's running in the background, having us do these behaviors. We went in and did these special processes. And a couple months in, she had this huge shift. And she was able to drop into a very different confidence and clarity that she hadn't had before. She was able to track it back to her past about why the risk manager was making this happen. And with this process, she was able to do some really great healing work. And I love this story because a couple of weeks after this particular process, she was at a party and she saw this man that she had known for years in a different way. And he saw her radiating and was drawn to her in a very different way. Long story short, they started dating. He was very different than she'd ever dated before. And I think it was like 6 months later, she had a promise ring on her finger. And now they're like 2 years in. And I just heard a couple of weeks ago, they're getting married. So patterns can be broken. Awareness first, dropping in, doing the work, doing the shifting. So the old messages are no longer valid. And then being able to step out into the world and say, okay, my new sparkly queen is here. Where are you, king?
I love that. And I think you wrapped it up right there. Now, there's something I want to go back to really quickly, and it's the documentary that you created. I saw it because you sent me the link, and I loved it. I wouldn't do it, but
Totally.
Because of the type of work, I work a lot in organizations with children and whatnot. So I don't think I'd feel comfortable doing it, but I experienced it through you, definitely. It felt so liberated, and I could envision myself. And it's just that process of being free, totally free, and being free in all aspects, socioeconomically, in relationships, having the freedom to thrive and develop yourself. And it was just so inspiring and so beautifully done. And you look great. After having lost all that weight. I don't know what you looked like before, but you look beautiful, so radiant, so gorgeous. And I appreciate the documentary. And just so anyone who's listening right now, we'll be posting all of Junie's links in right below the video, and on all the platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and many more that we'll be sharing throughout. So please view it and see it with eyes of putting yourself in those shoes. It's not about what she did and how she went about it to express artistically and with quite finesse. I thought it was very lovely, by the way.
Thank you. It's the thing I'm most proud of, frankly.
You should be. You should. Yeah. It's a scary thing. I was scared for you. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, oh my God. It's interesting because when I literally, my finger was literally hovering over the release button to put it out there in the world. And I was like, my risk manager was working. It's like, if you put this out there, there will be judgment. There will be people saying, what was she thinking? And she should just have her clothes on. And again, this is a metaphor, but I actually did it. To transformation because I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a second. I was just invited to get naked and body painted by a well-known body painter. And I said, yes. Oh my God. But my finger literally hoved over that button. And then I thought, well, the risk, there might be some people that say bad things and there might be a moment of ouch, but the risk not to do it was bigger. I wanted to express to the world that transformation is possible. I wanted to share my story and say, do not believe the lies we've been told about body image, body shame. Do not believe the lies around relationship. Do not believe the lies around how you're supposed to be and how you're not supposed to be. We've been taught certain things from other people's perspectives. And wait a second, what's our perspective? And so that film really is the thing I'm most proud of. And then tens of thousands of people have seen it. I've been on huge, big screens in movie theaters. It's the craziest thing at film festivals, sitting in a movie theater and I'm naked on this big screen. And I will also say to you, one person of the tens of thousands of people commented negatively. One person, shocking to me. And I'm so grateful that I did it, because many, many people still come up to me and say, thank you for telling my story and for doing this, because it gives me hope that I too can be free of the conditioning. And that's my message.
And thank you for that. And I hope many of you will get the opportunity to view it, because it is quite inspiring.
Thank you.
You know what? We get judged fully dressed. So, you know.
and we get judged by people, but the biggest judger in the room now is us. And we judge the heck out of us. And, you know, when we put our clothes on or how we show up in the world. So we need to lower the volume of that judger between our ears and really raise the volume of that queen, of that sovereignty, of knowing how special we are, because it's just, we need more lights in the world, and each of us has our own unique light. And if we want partnership and we want love, then we need to start by loving ourselves, because the more we're telling ourselves that no one's going to love us, or we're too fat, or we're not smart enough, or whatever it is, that's what we're putting out into the world. This world needs healing more than ever, as we know. And it starts with each and every one of our hearts and stepping into our own divine light. May we all do that.
Yes. Just thank you. Just thank you for your words, guys. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
It's quite appreciated.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned that there are love shadows, and you do the shadow work. What are they, and why is it so important to know what they are?
Yeah. So in the body of work, and I just want to, give a shout out to Cliff Barry and Mary Ellen Wallen. They are the founders of shadow work, the shadow work model that I'm trained in. And they put it together and saw that there were 4 main archetypes, 4 energies that encompass the personality. And each of those 4 support us, guide us, and help us be the people that we want to be. And so what I did is I took that information and I looked at it through the eyes of love, and realized that when we have injuries or woundings in those energies, it shows up in different ways. And so I call them love shadows, these woundings that keep us from expressing our truth, keep us from opening up our heart. And so I'm going to zip through them real quickly, because I can spend hours talking about this. So the magician is one of the archetypes, and that's the part that helps us see and think through things and have good discernment. And if we've had a wounding where we've gotten hurt really badly, we're going to be potentially scared of it happening again. That's kind of what we've been talking about. And so that risk manager is going to really be working hard, like we've been sharing. And so the wounding, the love shadow in the magician, is going to have you holding back and having all these strategies keeping you stuck, keeping you from opening up. And so we need to heal the love shadow in the magician realm that says something's wrong with you, that you're bad, don't even bother. Then there's the sovereign energy. I've mentioned that. That's where our self-esteem lives, and that's where our queen lives. And so if we've been wounded there and we have a love shadow in the sovereign energy, we don't know our worth. And therefore, we feel like we're not good enough. So we need to heal that. Because if we don't feel good enough, that's going to show up in our relationships. Maybe we'll be overly giving and not get our needs met. The lover archetype is where we hold our vulnerability, our childlike playfulness. the ability to connect with each other. And so if we've had our trust broken, if we had a pain that made us feel unsafe, it's a little different than the magician that's coming up with strategies. If we feel unsafe, the lover is just going to build a wall around its heart and have the inability to open. And so if we want partnership and healthy partnership, we need to know how to access that vulnerable, precious heart. So we need to heal that love shadow. And the last one is the warrior. We need that part that can really say, hey, this is who I am, separate from you, and have good, healthy boundaries. But if we've had our boundaries crossed, if we've had abuse, if somebody didn't really, especially when we were children, really honor healthy boundaries, we might now be a people pleaser, or maybe we're a doormat and we let people just walk all over us. And so that wounding in the warrior realm, that warrior shadow can keep you from having healthy boundaries and good communication, really taking a stand for yourself. So when I work with people, we're looking at what's the major love shadow you have. We all have flavors of it. We all see them showing up, but typically there's one that's more dramatic than the others. And what we want to do is find a balance and a healthy connection with all four of them so that you can have good clarity and discernment, openness, boundaries, and self-esteem.
And shadow work is so important, and it's something that's been done for quite a bit of time. So I appreciate especially how the framework you use is love, because a lot of people don't view it that way. They'll touch on that aspect when they work with shadow, but that is your basic framework, love, and everything really is love, and I can see how it even translates into society, all those archetypes, and how people are not possibly expressing their needs appropriately, or not feeling worthy, not standing up for their rights, etc. So this is something that touches everyone at different levels and in different perspectives of their lives. Now, how do you know what's in shadow? How does that work? And I don't know if we can combine these questions. You speak of the shadow and the healing the shadow, but what is it and why is it so important to do this shadow work? Because a lot of people don't like to go deep down inside, it's scary, it's painful. It can cause a crisis just to even deal with all that past. Share a little bit about your thoughts on that. And
I'm just going to go right to the first thing, the last thing you said about the scary and painful. I just want to really put a stake in the ground to say, by not doing this work, that's way more scary and way more painful. By not knowing what's in shadow, by not knowing why you do what you do, by holding yourself back, by having these behaviors. Let's talk about pain. Let's talk about fear. When you're wanting love and you're feeling alone, or you're acting in ways that are just not the way you want to act, saying things that you don't want to say, hurting people with some of your words and actions, being hurt by people by their words and actions, that's friggin' painful. So what I stand for is let's shine a light on the monster. It's like, ooh, there's a monster lurking around. There's a shadow behind you. I don't want to look at it. But whoa, don't you want to look at it? You shine a light on that shadow, guess what? It disappears. You shine a light on the stuff that's lurking behind you, you suddenly realize that monster isn't as strong as you think it is. And so this work actually is freeing, really freeing, and not as scary as people think. So yes, the idea of stepping out of our comfort zone, trying something new, doing transformational work, anything new is uncomfortable and scary. That's part of the human journey. I just really, really want to put a stake in the ground and say it is way more scary and painful to not look at this stuff and have years and years go by alone, or being in a way that just isn't the way you want to be, having the life that is kind of messy and uncomfortable in that way. So So this work is awesome. I love this work. I freaking love this work. That's why I do this work. So the
You're very
shadow.
passionate, and that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
thank you. I do.
Yeah,
I love this work. I
and
have
you
a life
have
that
to
I can't
be
believe I have.
anything that has to do with healing and doing that inner work is, you have to be passionate about, because you hold space and energetics for that person while you're doing the work. And it's
Yeah.
very exhausting for people like yourself and myself, because I do in a different way some work as well. But,
Yeah.
we have to care for ourselves also
Yeah.
in when we're working with people through this process and through this journey. Now, what this podcast is, it has many purposes. To celebrate extraordinary women like you, and secondly, to inspire other women to dare to express their guts and to do it with grace.
Mm.
And uh, what tips or strategies, mindset has worked for you to be successful and to reach your goals?
Yeah. Thank you. Well, again, I walked on eggshells and I was afraid to express myself. I was afraid to be in the light. And by shining a light on the shadows, and you ask, how do you identify something in shadow? What's not working for you? What have you lost access to? I lost access to my voice. I lost
Mhm.
access to my ability to stand my ground. So by doing the shadow work, I was able to find that grounding and that confidence to be able to put myself out there and be kind of fearless. And so I, after doing this work, I was able to find my wings, because of my wings were there as a little girl. And I love that you started with that. As a little girl, I would walk around my neighborhood smiling at the people that were sitting on their porches, the old people that were sitting on the porches. Old, probably they were like 20 or 30. But back then I was like, wow, they're really old. But I would go around the neighborhood smiling at them, wanting to connect with them and bring them joy. And then it all stopped because I was so scared of being bullied. I was scared of standing out.
Hmm.
So I had my wings and they were clipped, and shadow work helped me heal. And so I am able to take a stand for love and take a stand for healing, because I've walked through the fire and I know the power of and the brilliance of feeling free. Feeling free. There is nothing on the planet that feels better than freedom to be you and love it.
Yes.
And so I do this work. I stand, I have the guts. I had the guts and I have the guts. I had the guts to look at my shadows because I wanted a bigger, more healthy, beautiful life. And I have the guts to say, yeah, I'm going to stand out now and be myself and be authentic and be the empowered woman that I am and help other women along the way.
And I love that, because it is the most difficult thing to do, to look inside, to sort through all that old pain and
Yeah,
trauma,
yeah.
crisis, and life transitions, also a divorce, loss of a loved
Mm-hmm.
one, everything that we've been through right now in the last year. How has your work been impacted with everything that has happened this last year? I'm really interested to know how
Yeah.
people pivot their businesses, although it's very heart centered. It is a business, and what patterns and trends have you noticed with your own clientele?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's been really tricky. So, in the beginning of the pandemic, obviously people weren't going out at all. Uh, what's really great about the pandemic, really great, is it slowed down the dating process. It
Mm,
gave people time to go within and really do that reflection of their life. Also noticing the pain of doing the pandemic alone and living alone and having, not having that person to hunker down with. I mean, I was really grateful to have my partner with me. So on the one hand, it has had a lot of women really feel the loneliness more than ever. I do love working in person, and I do love having retreats in person. However, I've been doing online work for years, and it works beautifully online. My work translates really powerfully through the internet. So I was ready to go during the during the pandemic. So I was able to continue to do my work and reach more people and do bigger virtual events. And more women have raised their hand more than ever because they have felt the impact of this pandemic. The other thing, again, I want to just shine a light on is because it's slowed people down.
Mm-hmm.
People have gotten more clear about what's working and what's not working. And a lot of the dating apps have incorporated video chatting. Now, some people are really uncomfortable about being on video. Well, what's that about? What's that discomfort about? So video chatting is another wonderful tool to streamline the dating process. So you're not sitting across from somebody on a date that you don't feel connected to at all. It's a really good next step. Not a have to, but it's a really valuable step. So my business definitely has grown substantially in the last year because more women are saying, I do not want to do this by myself. I want to, and as we all know, because there's been so much loss and so much pain with what's happened in this last year or two, that we're looking at our life in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
We're valuing the preciousness of each day in a very different way, which is awesome. And people are now saying, I want something new, better, different, more fulfilling. So yeah, people are really asking for a very different type of trajectory when it comes to partnership and love, because life is short and it's a heartbeat. And if not now, when? If not now, when? And so people are raising their hand more for love now more than ever.
Now, I think that sadly, we have to go through traumatic moments or crisis, and it's part of the human experience, and it's that actual occurrence that gives us the opportunity to reevaluate, reassess where we're at and the values that we're living by. And because it boils down to that: what are your values? Who are you really? And what are your true needs? Not the ones that society or social media, the news are slowly programming you with, and which a lot of people don't realize, and telling people how they should look, how they should talk, what they should wear, what brand they should wear, etc. And I think it's very nice to have nice things, but who are you truly deep down inside? What do you have to offer? What do you want to offer to begin with? And so
yeah, absolutely.
what are you willing to offer, and what do you need to receive to feel fulfilled? But you are in yourself. You have everything. Everything's there. Everything's there. And we can enjoy moments of being alone, because loneliness is one thing and being alone is another. We can enjoy those moments, and then in my case, I can enjoy really. I can go to a restaurant by myself and enjoy it. I love my own company, in
Yeah,
that
that's a
sense.
great thing.
But I love being with someone also that I can step out and go out with and enjoy their company, or my family or my friends. It's a matter of balancing that and understanding that we can fulfill our own needs to some extent, and we can choose to include other people for other experiences, that we want to have and enjoy. And that's a difference, that you choose, that you're not feeling desperate for a partner, because that desperation also makes a lot of women, and it doesn't matter if they're in positions of authority or an at-home mom, or whatever the case may be, out of desperation for the need and the desire for wanting someone in their lives, they may make the worst choices, the worst choices. And I'm sure that's something we could have a whole other discussion about, how to avoid those pitfalls when you are feeling down and low and rejected, and you're trying to bounce back from a relationship having ended, possibly very sadly, very tragically, very uncomfortable type of circumstances, especially if there are children involved. So I will bring you on again in the future, but sadly, this is coming to an end.
This was wonderful. You've asked
I was just
amazing
going
questions.
into that. Sadly, we're coming to the end, but I do want to invite you again sometime later so that we can talk about strategies about how to avoid succumbing to those feelings of desperation and frustration with love. Now, mention a free offer. I know you have a free offer. And again, to the audience, we'll be posting all of the links and information about how to contact Junie Moon, but share here how they can reach you and your free offer and the services that you provide.
All right, beautiful. And again, I just want to thank you because your questions have been great. It's been a wonderful conversation. I'm so happy to have shared what I believe is the most potent message on the planet, which is transformation and healing is possible, and love is our divine right. So the easiest way to find me is coachjuniemoon.com, and that's JUNIE. And I have a special gift for the people that are listening, watching. It is a love workbook. And what it is we've been talking about changing behaviors and patterns and the risk manager. And it's a 10-step process. There's content in it. You'll read about it, maybe 20 minutes. It's there's so many people putting these quick checklists out there and quickies. This is something that could actually change your friggin' life. So it's something that I've spent a lot of time on, and it's a 10-step process to not only identify some of your patterns and what you want, but how to actually get your risk manager to lower the volume of your inner critic and be able to work with you so that your behaviors can shift and you could actually have a different relationship with this part that has been sabotaging the very things you want. So you can go to coachjuniemoon.com/love workbook, and you can grab that there. And in reference to what I do, I work with mostly people, and I say mostly because I have some amazing young women, young men that come to me. I have people that are in business that are wanting to get out of their own way when it comes to really creating the businesses that they want, or even people in relationship that want to take their relationship to the next level. With all that said, most of my programs right now, and I have a year-long program called Midlife Love Mastery for women that are in midlife, over 40, 50, 60s, that are single and really want to let go of the conditioning and really stand strong in their queen to invite in a partner that can really adore them and meet them where they are now. So I work with everybody, and my specialty is helping women transform the inner stuff that's getting in the way and giving them great dating strategies to actually streamline the dating process and call in qualified partners.
Great. And I think a lot of women are going to gravitate to your work, and perhaps a gentleman or two. But I appreciate that, because a lot of women in midlife don't get their needs addressed by different services in the community. They're more focused towards young women, especially when it comes to dating. And so I so appreciate that, because I'm in that category as well. And I know now more than ever, there is a lot more information out there, but it's having someone you can trust to talk about something that's so personal and can be so painful. That's important. So I'm so glad that you're providing this service. It's so needed. And one last thing, Junie Moon, to pick your brain, final words of wisdom regarding finding and keeping love in uncertain times.
So my final words, I came up with this saying, it's nothing that profound, and yet it really is be yourself and love it. Be yourself and love it. When you can really be yourself. And that's why the title of my book is loving the whole package, when you could love all of who you are, even some of your flaws. And you can go, yeah, sometimes I'm a little messy, or yeah, sometimes I'm a little outspoken, whatever it is. When you could love yourself as the human being that you are, and you can just drop in and relax, life changes, and how you connect with everybody changes. So be yourself and love it, open to love. Don't stop the healing journey, and put a stake in the ground to have an extraordinary life.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for me and everyone who's going to listen to this wonderful conversation that we've had. Thank you, Junie Moon, the love coach.
Thank you so much. So wonderful sharing time with you.
Thank you. And as always, I want to sign off with letting you know the importance of much self-love, compassion, and benevolence. You deserve it. Junie Moon deserves it, and I deserve it too. Keep the peace, everyone. Much love. Bye-bye.